PlayStation 4 generation had a spectacular lineup of exclusives, from the swashbuckling swagger of Uncharted 4 to the dingy, existential dread of Bloodborne, the web-slinging goofiness of Spider-Man to the emotional sincerity of Reconnection and Boy. Infamous Second Son, Ratchet & Clank, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, one extensive, critically acclaimed catalog. But today I want to talk about the black sheep of this generation. Not Revenge is Bad the game. No. Today I want to describe exactly why I love Death Stranding.
I know your voice, I know your face. This is something I cannot replace. Gave me hope and gave me doubt. Well, I loved you then, but I don't love you now. I'm a long way from home. 'Cause we're a long way from home.
From its initial bonkers reveal trailer, Death Stranding had my attention. I mean, the game has it all. Chad, Guillermo del Toro, and Hideo Kojima slating some of the spookiness of PT and the expected weirdness of Metal Gear, which is quite possibly the closest gaming bond I have with my brother.
Big boss. But father was wounded in combat and already in a coma when they brought him in. So they created us from his cells, with a combination of 20th century analog cloning and the super baby method.
Super baby method.
Yet as release approached, I began to have my doubts. The fact that the game was purely focused around a singular, seemingly unengaging gameplay loop was concerning. As someone who has repeatedly dropped games harder than the 2008 market, this began to look like yet another foolish desire. But I maintained hope. It was worth it. I'm gonna get the gushing over technical aspects out of the way first. Presentation-wise, Death Stranding is a marvel. Utilizing Guerrilla Games' Decima engine, the world perfectly captures an ethereal post-apocalyptic atmosphere. The desolation is beautiful, almost biblical in a way, as if Sam Porter Bridges is exploring the world after a flood had give me a second. Smote most of the world. The sound design, or rather the absence of most sound beyond the crunch of hiking, is also a massive contributor to this feeling of overwhelming emptiness.
Looks like a path.
It'd be difficult to not recognize the game as an achievement of aesthetics. As the main power behind character design in the Metal Gear Solid series, I've always admired Yoji Shinkawa's talent, unrelenting in his ability to create a distinct cast of characters, establishing differentiation purely through unique visual design. As a strongly anti-war series, Shinkawa's mixture of technology with the grizzled, often traumatized ensemble of Metal Gear complements the games well, and transitions to Death Stranding perfectly. Both properties feature characters attempting to regain a semblance of their humanity, while tragically appearing inhuman. In Death Stranding's case, they are using technology not only to find themselves, but to reunite humanity itself. Despite the paragraphs of praise I've purposely propelled upon Death Stranding, it's not a perfect product. Continuing down the route of Sam Bridges, delivering packages and experiencing intense visions of an alternate war-torn dimension, the narrative feels as though it's getting increasingly complex for the point of being complex. As I ran through mental gymnastics, the game feeling like it was trying to prove itself as a real auteur project, I constantly thought that the game's story would be enjoyed, even celebrated, if conceptual fat and some dialogue was simply cut. The emotions behind the game are undoubtedly sincere, despite the story often feeling messy. Even the cheesy melodrama of the villain, who is literally just emo Troy Baker, is tolerable, because of the clear earnestness beneath it all. That being said, while the base emotional connection between Sam and BB is compelling, and the idea of Snow Globe Baby is jarringly unique, the relationship is a little unoriginal for the medium. A tale depicting a man aggressively opposed to connection becoming deeply invested in the fate of a child. Unoriginality doesn't equate to poor emotional delivery, though. The story proves that even in the most detached and hopeless situations, basic human instincts will continue to thrive and be rewarded. Yet half the time it felt like the narrative kept adding needless expositional layers and mismatched toppings to a meal that already felt weighty, becoming painfully daunting. The weight of the actual gameplay is why I adore this game, although it's unquestionably from a personal perspective. See, as someone who suffered intense anxiety for a large portion of my senior year, Death Stranding is a perfect representation of coping against that constant struggle. Not saying that media should be used as therapy. Let me explain. To put it shortly, the game is about delivering packages and supplies to reunite humanity, traversing rough terrain and combating sporadic weather paired with intimidating foes. A large portion of the game side of it is how you plan out your journey, flipping through menus upon menus of potential tools while attempting to strategize and decide upon your means of traversal. This is where the true power of the game shines. Sam can meticulously prep for the path ahead, setting aside an insane and often comical amount of supplies for every kind of scenario, and yet no journey is the same. Things will get inevitably fucked, and Sam will have to improvise in a panic or succumb to the dreaded invisible threats. And even then, even though he's lost some progress, his life isn't over. It's a comforting thought. Despite all of his literal baggage, Sam will continue to challenge himself and push through eventual obstacles. I wholeheartedly understand why people label the game as monotonous. It is basically a repetition of the same gameplay, over and over and over, dozens of hours through variations of the same situation. Is the game fun? Probably not, but it's still fantastic. The game perfectly reflected my trapped feelings over the course of senior year, stuck in the monotony of reliving the same day over and over, and simultaneously remaining intimidated by possibilities of wasting time or impending danger, invisible creatures, if you will. I'm of the opinion that not every game has to be focused on fun, as it's safe to say games have reached the point where they could be considered an art form. Art doesn't always have to be fun. This game seems focused on something more substantial, more visceral, something, no joke, like deeper. After all, could something like Apocalypse Now be classified as a fun movie? Hell no. But is it good? Yeah.
You want players to absorb your message. Did you ever think about writing a more straightforward story, one that doesn't use so many fictional terms, science fiction terms and concepts?
そうですか。やっぱエンターテインメントなんで、そこで楽しんでもらう、その時間を忘れるってこれは最低限必要なものなんですけど、特にその僕のゲームとかオープンワールドなんで何十時間っていうその人の人生から時間を奪うんですよね。だからそんだけの時間を遊んだ結果面白かっただけでは済まないと思うので、そこで体験したものでリアルな生活の中でゲームの中でバーチャルで体験したものを、リアルな生活の中で役立てるような仕組みにしたかったっていうのがあって。
I have no plans to return to Death Stranding. I've been through the game, and although it was beautiful, good God, am I never touching it again. Although most would assign that as a detriment to the game, it showed me that the game succeeded in its vision. After all, the journey is about struggle. I did overcome tremendous obstacles, even though I sometimes wanted to quit and felt increasingly confident to deal with whatever randomness bombarded me. There also has to be a mention of the game's online mode, which is a stellar example of manipulating the capacity for multiplayer. Sam exists within a shared world with other Sams, meaning that you can give supplies and offer support to other people going through the same struggle, even if they're not there with you. Just that basic connection with other faceless people, knowing that they too are going through the same journey, is a powerful feeling. While it's not exactly a smooth experience, Death Stranding did add a little boost while I tried to overcome a bumpy life issue. It was the unexpected friend I needed to remind me of the human potential to persevere, and did it do so beautifully. As Bridges says, no matter what life throws at you, sometimes you just have to
keep on keeping on.